I would like to add something here, and that is that usually in benchmarking analysis, we try to look for what is actually driving costs. And in this case, the length of pipe in the ground is not the biggest cost driver for either one of these utilities. The regional costs are by far the biggest cost driver. So a comparison of the regional costs would be more, I think, illuminating in terms of why the city's costs are higher proportionately. And it really has to do with the cost of water that we purchase from the region, and then the cost of sewage treatment.
Thank you.
Worship, question 4 is related to the new wastewater treatment plan, the fact that our utility rates are going to be going up, yet there's no allowance for that wastewater treatment plan in the budget. Actually, we are proposing a small amount to go to the reserve this year. $200,000 is proposed to go to the sewer reserve, and that is directly related to try and smooth rates moving forward. We don't know exactly what those increases are going to be yet, but we are starting to set aside some money in our utility to address that. And then item 5 is how much will the new wastewater treatment facility cost residents on an annual basis versus existing rates? If you don't know these amounts, then when will you be able to give this an idea? And maybe Mr. Tolston, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship, the biggest item there is we don't know how much that the plant is going to cost. We don't know what our numbers are, the final numbers, and also we don't know how much that the governments are going to be paying for it. So it's pretty hard to give us the estimate now. So as soon as those estimates are in, and as soon as that the city knows what other governments are going to be paying, then we could put them in. But right now, no, we're not at that level.
And if I could maybe add, as chair of the Utilities Committee at Metro Vancouver, it's very clear that we need provincial government and federal government support on this. We're hoping for one-third funding, the same as what Victoria has received in terms of building their primary and secondary wastewater treatment facility. Right now they do nothing. We do primary, and we both need to go to secondary treatment. So it's very important that the provincial and federal governments become partners with us on that. And then with regards to the operating costs, as a ballpark, we're talking about doubling of the operating rates, because when you do secondary treatment, there's a lot of pumping, there's a lot of much more energy required to move the wastewater through the system and to treat it. So for a rough order of magnitude, we're looking at generally doubling the cost for operating the new wastewater treatment plant. Anything else to add, Mr. Pope, for these, Ms. Gordon? I think that's it. So thank you for the responses there. And I'm going to go out back to members of the gallery who have any questions to ask or comments to make. Please to do so. Just raise your hand and we'll go to you. If you have questions with regards to our liquid waste, our solid waste, and our water utility recycling program, once, twice, 3 times, then I'll go to members of council. Are there any questions or comments with regards to our utility rates? Councillor Booker.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wonder if we could just get Ms. Gordon to go over the point that she was making about the impact of regional costs. I didn't quite grasp that point.
I think the most...
Ms. Gordon, do you mind just moving that microphone, pointing it toward?
Sorry. I was just asking Mr. Pope if we could get the PowerPoint.
Certainly.
Get the pie charts for the water utility and the sewage and drainage utility back up onto the screen, because I think that's the simplest way to explain this. So in the water utility, the expenses, out of $9.7 million in expenses, $5.9 million relate to the cost of purchasing water from the region. And of course, that cost embodies a lot of regional, not just the physical water itself, but all of the infrastructure, the filtration plant, all of the piping and so on that is used to supply the regional part of that system. The cost that the city is incurring to maintain its own system is quite a small fraction of that. So we would have to take that fractional cost for each of the 2 districts and then use that to compare, rather than the overall, because I haven't computed these ratios, but I do believe that the city is actually paying, possibly paying more on a per household basis than the other two districts are paying. I don't know that because I haven't actually done those numbers, but that is by far the overriding cost for the water utility. And in the sewer utility, that's even more pronounced of of $8.6 million, 4.9, so almost getting up close to 2/3 is regional. Once again, that is driven by the costs of the regional system. So the allocation between the city and district is based on census, but I believe that the allocation for the North Shore Sewerage area between West Vancouver and the two North Vancouvers is based on flow, and we would have to look again at what those numbers were and what kinds of ratios those led to. The other thing I think I would point out is that the length of pipe in the ground is not as much related to cost as the actual cost of creating a trench and laying pipe. And the city, because we're actively managing our system, and I don't know this, again, I haven't looked at it, but it may be that we're incurring more costs because we are doing more active management of our system.
Thank you. I'm amazed at all of staff's ability to respond to these very legitimate questions in such, with such short notice. I would hope that